Washer fluid over there, not over there. Let's get this fixed. So diagnosing the problem, where's the leak coming from? Where is the hose broken? Well, looks like it must be down here somewhere, because here is fresh fluid dripping down from the reservoir. So this will be, I don't know how to get to that reservoir. We shall see. So that puddle was in front of the wheel, and this one is behind. So now I'm confused. The hose must be broken maybe in 2 spots. We'll have to see what we're into here. Okay, so I put her up on jack stands, took this wheel off, and I think we're gonna have to take the inner fender off and see where this hose is leaking. Hopefully it's only one. Okay, so I'm taking all of these out by working them out very gently with a screwdriver. So I'm just kind of trying to get under there, work it back and forth really gently, because I already broke one, but then you can kind of just pull them out with your fingers then. So those are all around here. That's how I'm gonna get the inner fender off. It looks like the mud flap has some Phillips head screws, and there's one bolt right here. Sorry for the poor filming here. Right there. So I'll tell you what that is in a second. So that was a 10mm bolt, and now the inner fender feels pretty loose. I think mostly what's holding it on now is these screws on the mud flap. All right, so we got the mud flap off. Those 3 screws were holding it on, and I think we see the problem right there. There's a T and a missing line. So somewhere that line is tucked up in here. So I'm gonna feel around in there. It's gotta poke out of one of those holes. So I don't know if it just came loose or why did it come loose. So now I'm back up top. I took this little cover off. It sits right in place here on the fender. And I pulled this hose up and out. And I'm struggling to know where the hose is, because there's only one hose that goes back into here. So I'm trying to figure out what is supposed to be connected there and where is it supposed to feed from. So after much searching, I cannot find a hose anywhere. I cannot find where a hose would go. I cannot find any remnants of a hose. So I'm wondering if this was plugged off. So I put this screw in here, and then it started working again. So I'm gonna go and get a coupler and put this together and see if that fixes it. One of my theories is I had the windshield washer hose replaced on this car about 2 years ago, and I'm wondering if they didn't at the time have a coupler, so the mechanic put in a T here instead of a coupler and had this plugged off, and that blew off. That's the only theory I got right now. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna run to Napa, get a new coupler, and see what we got. All right, guys, first off, sorry for the convoluted video so far. You know, troubleshooting and videoing all at once is a little bit tough sometimes. So I'm on my way to Napa, and we're gonna see if we can get a coupler. I'll buy a T as well, just in case this isn't the problem. But as I already mentioned, the mechanics replaced this a couple years ago, and when it stopped working, I'm like immediately suspicious. So at the time I was living in an apartment, so I couldn't really do work on my car myself. But they replaced a hose. They charged me $7 for the hose and $100 for labor. So this repair job cost me, with tax and everything out the door, it was like $114. And now 2 years later, I'm dealing with the same thing. And that's gonna be really frustrating if I'm dealing with an issue that they created because they put a T in there. I don't know if that's the case yet. We'll see if I put a coupler in there, if that works. And anybody that knows about these 2015 Legacies, if you know how the hoses are supposed to be run, please let me know if I'm doing something wrong. But I just don't see any other hose. The little cover that goes over the windshield wiper motors and the studs that the windshield wiper is attached to has room for one hose that goes in. You know, it's molded for one hose. So I can't see another hose there. And if there was a hose that ran as like a backfill hose or something from the reservoir, like it would have had to have gotten ripped completely off and gone, not a shred of it. And I can't see anywhere on the reservoir where another hose is supposed to attach. So let's get this coupler, let's get it on there and see where we can go from here. Let's hope they have it. So they had this little assortment, cost me $5. It's got a few different couplers in there. There's one that looks like the exact one I'm looking for. Of course, they had the T's as well, but those are in a different container. Those were $6 for the T's. So I decided just to get the coupler for now because I'm cheap. I'm in a very small town here. So, you know, cut corners where you can. But let's hope this coupler works, and if not, I can run back down here. They're open till 4. I got a couple hours yet. So I have my little coupler in place, and I just tested it, and it's working fine. So I'm gonna get this inner fender put back on, this top cover put back on, and let's button this job up. That's more better. What did we learn? So of course I realized, as many of you have already realized and maybe already commented, that I didn't actually need to take the wheel off, jack the car up, or remove the inner fender. That was all a waste of time. I should have just taken that top piece off and searched that in the first place. So that's definitely where you want to start. Take that little top piece off, see if you see anything going on there. But it all depends on where it's leaking. With the way it was leaking at the bottom, I was very concerned that the hose had come disconnected or ripped or torn somewhere along the way. That all turned out not to be true. We'll see if we have any long-term issues with removing that T. So far the wiper fluid is working great. There's no leaks on the ground. So I think that T shouldn't have been there. I don't know if Subaru put that in there in the first place and it was capped off, or that mechanic did. But that is always the moral of the story as well. Try to avoid taking your cars to mechanics, if at all possible. You save a ton of money and nobody cares about your car like you do. I've been at a point in many times in my life where I can't afford a mechanic. I've been at a point in my life where I can afford a mechanic, and I've been somewhere in between most of my life. And if I could find somebody that did a good job and I had the money, you know, I'd be happy to have somebody else work on cars. I don't love working on cars, but in this case, it's just like so many times, it seems like they make things worse, so I'd rather just do it myself. So we'll see how it holds up. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.